Well, I'm thinking about all my friends who are living in cramped spaces, one studio apartments, difficult domestic environments with, estranged relationships between family members and housemates, flatmates, and so on and so forth. Actually, we can't really avoid, as much as we'd like to, we cannot avoid disturbance and clashes in this world, because we are not the center of the world. Although we'd like to think of ourselves as being such, we are not the center of all of existence. The world is not moving according to our little finite set of likes and dislikes. We are not the center. So therefore, it's inevitable that our wants, needs, desires are constantly clashing with those of others. And so we experience disturbance, frustration. So for that reason, the ancient Vedic wisdom advises us, rather than to try and change the environments, to try to change ourselves. And, we don't want to be, I don't want to be dismissive of the various troubles that persons face. But at the same time, these teachings are very helpful and very harmonizing. They're principles of harmony. And in particular, our Guru Dev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, emphasized a lot these three principles of humility, tolerance, and respect. And these principles are very, very valuable because they will act in two ways in our lives. On one level, in a very practical way, they can help us to harmonize, to adjust, to accommodate whatever difficult circumstances we may find ourselves in. They can help you simply to be a successful human being. They can help you to be successful in any field of life. So on one practical level, they can help us to adjust with our environment. But on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, they can help to open our hearts. They help us to step out of our own little boxed version of reality and connect with a higher spiritual reality. Through the application of these principles, the noise of our own egos will begin to diminish, and we'll be able to begin to hear the sound of the organic whole within which we are living. So the three principles which our Gurudev spoke about in particular are those of humility, tolerance, and respect. Humility, normally we are trying to assert our own egos upon the environment. Normally, if someone comes to clash with our own little zone, our own little comfort zone, then we are asserting ourselves and we are resisting that. Someone is coming and infringing upon our space, our area, our comfort zone, whether that's in a mental level or in terms of some physical manifestation. We're trying to, in the same way that a dog will mark its territory, we all have our own little zone of ego which we've marked as our own. And if someone crosses over that, then our natural response is to flare up, to react. Hey, that's mine, that's my space, that's my corner, that's my cup, that's my phone, that's my girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it may be, I, me, and mine. So through the practice of humility, we step back, we withdraw from that world of ego, and we consider, how many people are living in this world? 8 billion and something, I believe, at the last count. I'm just one tiny little, individual living entity in the midst of that. The scriptures, they say that one soul is 1/10,000th the fraction of one strand of hair. That is how small the soul is. And we're living in a world of billions of such souls, and not only humans, but plant life, animal life. And then not only that, but there's description of so many other infinite worlds in which so many billions of other souls are also living. So we'll consider, with some sobriety, some consciousness, we'll consider, I am one very small little entity living within an infinite ocean of other living entities. Why is it that my needs, my desires, my ego should be asserted over those of others? If someone wants to infringe upon my little zone, then let it be. Why should I make an issue out of that? And if we can do that, then not only will we ourselves not become disturbed, because actually anything that happens, we have a choice. Are we going to allow this to upset us or not? It's not about what others have done to us. It's about how we choose to respond to that. So it's like we're claiming this inner freedom within ourselves, that I don't need to be disturbed if someone has taken this from me or done this to me or said this to me. We're actually claiming this inner freedom and this inner power through this principle of humility. Apparently it's something very passive, but it's actually a very, very powerful principle if we have the courage to put it into application. So not only will we not allow ourselves to become disturbed through the practice of humility, but we will also keep some peace, some harmony within our environment, which is so important if we want to progress to a deeper plane of life. If we want to have a more profound experience of life, then it's important that we keep some level of equilibrium within the apparent world around us. If we're always like fighting and squabbling on the superficial level, then we're engaging on a superficial level with the environment, then we're not able to connect on a deeper level to the person within and ultimately to the Supreme Being. So one example has been given by Lord Chaitanya, comparing humility to the way of being of a blade of grass. That if someone goes to step on a blade of grass, or if the wind comes to move the grass in a particular direction, then the grass is not resisting that. The grass is simply moving with that. The grass is not asserting itself. The grass is not saying, this is my area. The grass is not saying, how dare you treat me like this? Don't you know, who I am? Don't you know what an important blade of grass I am? No, the grass is peacefully continuing its existence, moving according to the flow of the environment. So we can learn from this example. The next principle that our Gurudev emphasized is that of tolerance. And the example has been given of a tree, tolerance like a tree, because a tree is accepting, tolerating so much disturbance. If we think about, and this is our problem really, that we don't think, we don't think about others, we think about ourselves, But if we stop for a moment and consider the existence of a tree, we will be struck, with what nobility, they continue their existences. If we think about a tree is taking so much. A tree is tolerating all kinds of weather, storm, sun, rain, ice, snow, so on and so forth. People are cutting trees. People are using every part of the tree, and the tree is never complaining. People go and write on trees. The tree is tolerating everything. They're cutting down, rainforests. The tree is not protesting. And not only that, but as I said, the tree is also giving so much. So not only is the tree not resisting, not opposing disturbance, not complaining, but the tree is also supplying in a great mood of generosity. The tree is giving wood, giving fruit, giving flowers, giving bark, and every part of the sap of a tree, every part of the tree can be used for our welfare. Sometimes people think of tolerance as a very stoic and dry way to live. I'm going to keep my mouth zipped. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to clench my teeth and I'm going to resist the urge to respond. I'm going to tolerate this. I'm going to tolerate this. Gosh darn it, I'm going to tolerate this. That's not the real idea of tolerance. Our Gurudev emphasized that it was important to practice tolerance with love. That real tolerance is actually an expression of compassion and love. We are seeing with compassion the deficiencies or the needs of others who are creating disturbance for us, and with consciousness, with sympathetic consciousness of what the other person has gone through and where they're coming from, then we're seeing, it's not necessary, not helpful for me to react, to respond in this aggressive, reactionary way. Rather, how can I benefit this person? How can I help them to evolve to a higher plane of consciousness? So again, tolerance may appear to be something, we may think of it as being something passive, but it's actually an incredibly powerful way to live. You can actually dramatically transform your environment through the application of this principle of tolerance. Enemies can become friends. A difficult, challenging situation can become a great opportunity. Everything, your whole environment can dramatically change. You can completely change people's hearts. This is the power of these principles. You're not reacting on a physical, external level, but you're actually connecting with people's hearts. And to connect with somebody's heart is the most powerful way to affect them and to transform them. And they will be benefited by that. We will be benefited by that. Our whole environment will be positively benefited and transformed by that. And the last of these three principles is that of respect, honor, or appreciation. And that's something that can be very difficult, especially when, if we're looking at some like aggressive, disturbing person in front of us with dysfunctional behavior, then it's very difficult to respect that and to honor that. But what it's actually about, it's about overlooking the dysfunction that's being presented before us at any given time and seeing the potential that is behind that. So it's a very wonderful, very profound way to live, living in consciousness of the potential of everyone and everything that we come across in our environment. My grandfather, Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he drew out from Einstein's theory of relativity this principle that reality is not at a standstill. Reality is a thing plus its potential. When we go to consider the value of anything or any person, any circumstance, we have to consider the potential, the possibilities that surround it. In the same way that you may look at a tiny little apple seed and dismiss it as something utterly insignificant. But we know if you nourish that apple seed, if you take care of it, you plant it properly, you give it the proper nutrients, water, light, sun, so on and so forth, it'll grow into this beautiful big apple tree that can serve generations of persons. Or you may look at a screaming little 3-year-old, and dismiss that child, as a brat. But that small child could grow up to become a great world leader, artist, inventor, so on and so forth, if they're properly taken care of and properly nourished. So we're trying to look beyond the objective aspect of any person or situation, like Photoshop that part out, and try to see that light of potential that's behind. And what we're trying to do is relate with that person, that possible person, that potential person. It requires a great deal of magnanimity. It requires a broadness of heart to be able to look past the objective surface, which is maybe disturbing us in various ways, and to see that person within, that person behind, that potential person, and to try to have our relationship with that person. Not the person we're necessarily seeing in front of us, but the possible person that because everybody has that. Everybody has their right side and their dark side. And our duty as progressive human beings is to try to relate with that bright side, to ignore that dark side, and to try to relate only with that bright person within, which everybody has. And lastly, there is a fourth little point here. Not only must we give honor to others, give respect and appreciate others, but we also have to not expect it in return, which is very difficult. Because otherwise, it becomes a business transaction. And that we don't want that. We want beautiful, we're interested in free love, free love, free faith. So we want to appreciate others. We want to do good for others without at the same time expecting anything in return for ourselves. We're trying to freely give to others, to freely love others, to freely benefit others, to honor others, to respect others. And whether or not they will reciprocate with that, that is another matter. That is not our job. That is not our duty to consider. And this is actually something very powerful. And that's something we can talk about more later. But this is also an element of what's called karma yoga, the practice of selfless action. And it has a very powerful purificatory effect. It will purify our consciousness. If we're able to live in this mode of giving without expecting in return, it will purify our consciousness. And these 4 points, they're summarized in one verse of Lord Chaitanya's Trinada Pisu Nichena Tori Vasahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahadi, which our Gurudev was always vibrating. One who is more humble than a blade of grass, as tolerant as a tree, who gives honor, respect to others without expecting it in return, they are qualified to chant the holy name of the Lord. Their hearts will be purified, their hearts will be opened and able to connect with their supreme source. So these are, a few thoughts which I hope may be of help to my friends at this time of difficulty which we are all facing.